chomde chomde de jezen jambe yangla changze lo kange lo de demye tindra nyetara ya namda ya raso jinye tenge jije zikira nige tokara lebamzi kanda se zendra ya mare mendo ya dunga ya chese do tsoe kun lai pu che tar tse yen lai tu cho yang de so do tarai ke do nyu mo nye lo le ke kya do yo don ze ma re me se do nga nye ke gi nye kyun ze ra de de ne da ge sa ke dar so yen de lun zo ge se tu chu tai chu dai chu nye jian te dog lo me te jam yang lai se den ke ge ken ra se che dog lo te mo ya men pa ya ra so ka dan den je yong lo ya to pa ye lo de pa be na wa ye te do so Sangye chodang sojye chona la changcho pardo ya dane kya soj. Dage chushe gebe sunam je ndo la penjara sangye ndo paresh. Sangye chodang sojye chonam la changcho pardo ya dane kya soj. Dage chushe gebe sunam je ndo la penjara sangye ndo paresh. Sangye chodam zogye jona la changjo pardo ya dane kya soye. Dake chushe gibe sunam che ndola penjara sangye ndo pare sho. Semje damje dewa dan deve gyo dan den pare. Dunga dan dunga la ke jodan taware chut. Dunga la mebe dewa dan ba dan minda ware chut. Nyerang cha dan nye dan talwe dan nyo chenpo la ne pare churu Semje damje dewa dan deve gyo dan den pare chut. Dunga dan dunga la ke jodan taware chut. Dunga mebe dewa dan ba dan minda la ware chut. Nyerang cha dan nye dan talwe dan nyom chenpo la ne pare churu Semje dam dewa dan deve gyo dan den pare Dunga dan dunga ke jo dan taware Dunga la me be dewa dan ba dan mindalo Nyereng chak dan nye dan talwe dang nyom chenpo la ne pare churu Good morning, everyone, and a very, very happy new year. I wish you all a very, very good insight into Dharma, and I wish that Dharma may always remain in your heart, in your mind, and I wish that Dharma always will help you, guide you until you reach enlightenment, and then you do the same for all sentient beings until the time all sentient beings reach the enlightenment. Again, very, very Happy New Year. A very, great yogi said that it means whenever I am happy, when I experience the great joy, I give that to all sentient beings without exceptions. May the great joy of the wisdom fill the space entirely. And whenever I am sad, may all the sadness of all sentient beings come to me, and may the ocean of all suffering dry up by that. So this is an attitude, mental attitude, we want to always keep as a practitioner. Especially, I don't like to use the term Mahayana or Hinayana. Such thing doesn't exist, we please know that, okay? Such thing really doesn't exist. But somehow, formally, traditionally, we do when we talk, when you communicate with other people in order to just sort of sort things out, then you need to say name. Like our names is to sort out things. Otherwise, why would we need name, no? My name is Khenpo, this name is this. It's just to sort out things. It doesn't mean I'm a Khenpo, actually. Anyways, so just again. So, most important thing in life for yourself, for ourselves, for other, truly is kindness, compassion. A kindness, a compassion that is, free of any grasping, that's free of any expectations, that which is purely born out of pure wisdom. And so that is something we have. You do not have to look for that. It's something that we own, okay? It's something which is our mind is made up of. Along with all the emotion, this is also something that we own, that we inherit. It's really about time that we focused on those things as well. Don't always talk about emotions. I see that in the world, you tend to talk a lot about emotions. What's the point of doing that? It will only worsen things. We know there are emotions. We know we feel it. We know it's somewhere inside our mind. They're there. They will, sometimes they come, sometimes they disappear. That's their nature. Now we really need to focus on something that's not it. You should focus too much on these things. You are just focusing on them, which means you are feeding them. Correct? We are feeding them. Every time you think of that, it only and only will be worsened. I'm not just kind of, sugarcoating things. I'm just trying to say something I think is very true. So therefore, we really need to now focus more on wisdom, more on compassion. There's nothing more important than the wisdom and the compassion and the combination of that. It's not just the wisdom. Wisdom always induces compassion. Trust me. The wisdom meaning this insight into the reality of our mind, our existence. What is your existence? What is your being? Please ask that question. Don't go crazy about that. Okay? There's nothing to go crazy about it. Don't judge it. When I say that, don't judge it. We tend to judge. Oh, I'm a very bad person. Why are you judging? That is just a reality. It's neither good nor bad. It's just something you say you are bad, something other people say good. Just because someone says good, just because someone says things is good or you think bad does not mean it's good or bad. So what do you think is that? That's how we corrupt everything with our mind. And we very, very unnecessarily just trap ourselves. So now again, the way sort of, so don't focus on those things very much. It's part of our life which we cannot at all ignore. So what you're supposed to do when we are born, there are laws that is inevitable. You can't do about anything that. You're born, you grow and grow and grow, and eventually, physically, then the body kind of stops functioning and we call it death. Same with the mind. Mind do not exactly die, but then it continues on. Like we say, life moves on. It's very true. It's a very good, actually it's a very profound word. It does move on, which is same as saying everything is just temporary. Everything is impermanent. Must know that. Sadness, goodness, success, failure. Some of us who have, let's say, lived our life, like a lot, we should know that, actually. From the time when you were a teenage up until now, you were trying to grasp on something like success and then, rejecting the failure. Now, when you look in your life, what does those things mean at all? You had both, I'm guessing. It was not like you did it. It just happened. Everything is just, chain of reactions. Cause and effect, yes, naturally. Things, cause and conditions comes together, and that's pretty much it. We're doing nothing about it. The cause and conditions are doing it on their own. We do not want to try to control that, and you cannot control that. It's my trust, it's my belief, you cannot control that. So don't try to control either yourself or other people at all. Like we say, don't be a control freak. Just don't be a control freak. And don't judge too much. I'm not saying everybody's judging, but we are humans. It's all, just being, many of things are just being human also, you must know that. It is not an excuse that, if I said a criminal who rapes women, because women, if I say, oh, that's just, a thing, it's not a good thing. But then again, at the same time, there are these, let's say, when cause conditions comes together, there is then not an excuse to do bad things, is what I'm saying, right? So anyways, I may go too much into these things. So please, always remember the teachings. And in my understanding, there is nothing more precious than the teaching itself. Always and always believe in Buddha. Okay, Buddha. This is Buddha. If you believe in the teaching, you are actually believing in the Buddha. I'm totally fine if you don't believe in some Tibetan lamas or high lamas or low lamas. I don't know what's that. It's totally fine with me. But Buddha, no. This is, according to me, is the wisest person ever lived in the universe, the Buddha. Don't think in terms of some this very fancy Dharmakaya, Samkaya, Nirmanakaya. Forget all about that. He is the one who can show you the path. No doubt that. There's no question at all that he cannot not help. At all. It's the power of the wisdom. And not just power of the wisdom. Why do you think he's doing that tirelessly? It goes to show that his compassion, just like his wisdom, is timeless. So therefore, always trust in that. In the Buddha Dharma, Buddha's legacy. This is something that will never ever deceive you. People may deceive you, Lama may deceive you, but the Dharma will never. Lama who gave you teaching may deceive you, because that's the human being, part of the being human. But as far as his or her teachings are concerned, it's altogether different story. I may deceive you, because I'm a human being. I'm full of, just like any of you, I'm full of all these mistakes that you have. I'm not a pure person. I mean, I'm not saying you guys see me as a pure person. I'm just being very honest. But yet, what I'm trying to convey, not just me, any teacher, it doesn't have to be a monk, a nun, or anything. It can be a kid too. As long as they give you something in terms of wisdom that can bring this great change in your life, that's what counts the most. So therefore, we must trust. Only thing that, this is refuge-wise, right? Only thing that can really guide me, protect me, are not the human beings at all. It's not that they don't want to. They have compassion, they have love. But they themselves are stuck, just like me. How they're supposed to do it. So, therefore, the only, let's say, protect, guide, that will never ever deceive you, that will never fail you at all, is none other than the Dharma. We failed Dharma, yes. If it failed, that means I failed. Dharma can never fail. Like we think, Dharma failed me. That's my ignorance speaking. Dharma, how can Dharma fail? How can truth fail? Truth can never fail you at all. Okay. So now I'm going to, read through the remaining part of the book. Yes, then later on I will see some other stuff. But first let me please read it. Sorry. Okay. So I believe yesterday, so here just to remind us, like I said, that this teaching on Namshe, Yeshe, just the way how it says, Namshe meaning the consciousness part. A part where the meaning of consciousness is explained and their function is explained, and with that it is explained that how samsara, so to speak, is brought about by this mind. And samsara therefore is none other than our own mind. Whether you say there are 8 or 6 or 10 or 1 does not matter. It just means everything is really the mind, and this mind is this, what we call it, this, the mind with the stain, right? Mind with the stain. My emotions is mind, my compassion is mind, compassion I feel is none other than my mind, correct? All the good things that you think is your state of mind. Thinking this is, a table, thinking this is karmapa, thinking this is that, is all my mind. So, therefore, whatever kind of decision we make regarding the object, be it from the mundane point of view, be it from the spiritual point of view, these decisions are made by our own mind. And the decision is our perspective, correct? Our outlook. Our outlook regarding ourselves, our outlook regarding other people, everything. But at the end of the day, it is my own perception, nothing more, nothing less. And that is named as samsara. As a human being, I have my own human mentality. But as another being, then they have their own mentality. Like a bird will have bird's mentality. Within the bird, they have different birds, as you know, beings who live in the ocean, beings who live in the desert, beings who live in the trees, in the sand. They have their own mentality. So what I see, they don't see it, correct? So therefore, what they see, I do not see it. So that goes to prove that, it's all my perception. So this is, but we count it, like one. This 6, 7, 8 is consciousness, is spoken from the human point of view. We know there are many animals, they do not have either ear or nose or eyes, correct? So then they don't, does that mean they don't have those consciousnesses? They still see, they still perceive, then? So this is very different, okay? One thing you need to remember, all these teachings that we are taught in terms of mind number 1, mind number 2, is spoken according to the human point of view. Buddha taught this teaching to the human. So to the human he's saying, look, this is eye, this is ear, this is nose. Consciousness. But then those who do not have that, like snakes and there are many others, right? They don't. So then they will, the conscious number of the consciousness, will be different, so to speak. So now you can see, like in the dream also. Anyhow, just something in general. And then Namshe, that's the Namshe part, where it says Namshe, Samsara, Namshe, it's all same. And then Yeshe. Yeshe meaning primordial wisdom. Let's just stick to the wisdom. It just means primordial wisdom. Oh, the nature of the mind from the Mahayana, from the Mahamudra and Dzogchen and all that point of view, we tend to see, true nature of the mind or the luminous nature of the mind. Again, it basically meaning the, the wisdom, that has the ability to actually see the reality as it is, and a wisdom that is absolutely free from any kind of stain at any point of time. Whether I am a sentient being, the time when I'm a sentient being, the time when I just on the path, like first bhumi, second bhumi, third bhumi, when I'm there. And then eventually somehow I'm named Buddha. During all this phase, while I was in that trap of the obscuration, while I was, partially free from those obscurations, the Bodhisattva path, and then when I was absolutely free from all these traps, during the whole 3 occasions, as far as that mind, that wisdom is concerned, it always remained exactly the same. We did not add anything to it. We did not subtract anything from it at all. It always remains same. So this is called unchanging nature of the mind. You learn in the Buddha nature mind. It's very nice. So these different types of occasion we talk about, or let's say phase is actually a better word. The phase when I'm named as sentient being is named after my emotion. The phase when I'm named as a bodhisattva is also named after the path, not the result, correct? The path. And then when I am named as a Buddha, it's actually named after the result, so to speak. But during all this time, as far as my quality of the mind is concerned, let's say the bodhicitta, the discriminating wisdom, the power of the discriminating omniscient wisdom concerned, that as far as always remains intact all the time. So that's why, like we say, sentient beings are inherently or innately actually Buddha from that point of view. So anyway, but then we name this, there's these phases, how we go through this. Phases are the phases of afflicting emotions, and then the overcoming of the obscurations are named as this phase, that phase. Like we have, Sharvaka Arhat, Pratyeka Buddha Arhat, Bodhisattva, the 10 Bodhisattva bhumis, and then the Buddha. These are true, but they are temporary. They are all relative. And they are named that way not because of the realization. The realization is true. But then there are differences, with regard to the way how they have removed the kleshas. Accordingly, then they are named as those, noble beings, like, oh, this is a Sharvaka Arhat, This is Pratyeka Buddha Arhat, and this is a Bodhisattva, this is a Buddha. I am the same person. Let's say I go step by step. So I have this phase when I am completely this ordinary being, then I become a Sharvaka Arhat, and then I become Pratyeka Buddha, and then I become a Bodhisattva, then I become Buddha. So there are 5 phases. But these phases are the gradual development or gradual process how I managed to overcome these different layers of the obscurations, the kleshas. With this inner growth, what removed that obscuration is concerned not something from the outside, but something from the inside, slowly. And then they are named as Yeshe or like Buddhahood, something like that. No? So yes. Okay. The afflicted mentality is utterly defeated by the fearless samadhi. The kleshas, I guess, anyways, are utterly eliminated on the paths of the insight and meditation. The subsequent absence of afflictions, the absence of the samsara, nirvana, is described as the wisdom of equality. Okay. I'm going to read one more. The immediate mentality is called sustainer because it sustains its consciousness, and is called thought because it gives rise to the thought. It is defeated by the understanding, true understanding, and the illusion like samadhi. Correct. Okay. So yes, here, since we are talking about the part of, let me check. What is Khenpo talking about here is he's talking about, actually, we can say the antidote. The antidote for very particular kind of kleshas. So here, Khenpo basically saying that the klesh, or klush we call it, and here in English it's always, a little bit dramatic, the word how they use, become klesh, become klesha, Ganga become Ganges. First time I never understood what he or she was saying. This river Ganges. I said there is no river Ganges in India. Because it doesn't exist. But he was talking about Ganga. We call it Ganga. Then somehow Ganga became Ganges. Many things like this, with that accent. So it changed things. Anyways, so coming back to this, like I said here, that whenever at that very particular stage, when one experiences directly, and very nakedly sees the selflessness nature of the mind, okay? When you see that, that's actually called the wisdom of emptiness. I have already said that before, the wisdom of emptiness. The wisdom of selflessness. This is called seeing the absolute truth very directly and nakedly, very organically, right? That means you do not need the help of a teacher or a sign. Based on your own earlier former meditation experience, at this point of time, then it just clicked to you directly, and you see the direct nature of the mind. So that wisdom is actually the antidote. Like I said, yesterday's antidote. Here he talks about, fearless, the samadhi, power and everything. The samadhi meaning meditation absorption. Tingin Zen and samadhi, according to the Tibetan word, Tingin Zen actually means in meditation, then there are these many different types of characteristics to that wisdom that you experience. It's not just one single thing. There are multiple different qualities and functions of that wisdom. That's why samadhi, in the meditation absorption. You're absorbed in a certain meditation, And that basically meaning you enter into this state of a wisdom that has these multiple functions, so to speak, samadhi. And that when the moment when I gain that, the instant when I experience that, in that very instant, whatever is the opposite of that is absolutely removed. For example, the sun or a candle. Let's say the room is very dark. When you light a candle, the moment you light the candle, the darkness around that part is removed. It does not have to wait. Likewise, sun, when the sun comes up, the darkness is gone in that very moment. So therefore, we say our wisdom is like that, light. When it shines, as soon as it shines, instantaneously, all the darkness of the ignorance is just gone, like that. So, but they are given this different name. There are thousands and thousands of samadhi, we call it, okay? So don't get, too, let's say, obsessed with these different names. A lot of names will come up, illusion like samadhi. Here it says fearless, samadhi. So when we see power and Dova, it's a very good name actually. Anyways, so the bodhisattvas, this is when I, in a very true sense, became a bodhisattva. And the mind of the bodhisattva, when we say Changchup Sempa in Tibetan, that pa actually means fearless. But not fearless, fearless in the sense of when you see the truth, then you will not have any fear. Of course, it's not fearless in terms of mundane meaning. It does not mean, that in our mundane sense of fearless, rough and tough. No, not that actually. It doesn't mean that at all. It's actually a very good word. For example, right now, no matter what, deep down inside, we always have fear, don't we? Because that is very much the nature of clash, meaning this is very much the nature of our attachment, our ignorance, our pride, all these, underlying, very secretly underlying mental impressions of the emotions are there in infinite number. Please know that. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. In our mind, there is this infinite underlying, secretly hidden emotions. Now imagine how can I be without fear. Fear here does not mean always fearing or shivering in that sense. Fear here, in my understanding, means, the sense of, actually it's also sense of being lost, or maybe sense of, you guys call it loneliness or something, or sense of alone, things like this, or lost. And this is very, very normal. It doesn't matter even if you are, along with hundreds of people, you can still feel lonely actually. People think you won't feel lonely when you have lots of friends. In my understanding, thinking, that's not it. The loneliness is in your heart, in your mind. It's not a person. A person will not exactly fill it up, in that way. But anyway, we have this illusion, let's say, illusion of that happening. But please know that was an illusion that it happened. Because sooner or later you will come to know, you will come to a term that why I'm still feel this, sense of loss. It's normal. We're in samsara, we are 100% lost actually. Who says you are not lost? Anyone who thinks I'm not lost is in a very big, confusion. We are all in a very big confusion, but that is also in a very big confusion. Anyway, again, coming back to what I was saying earlier. So therefore, When the Dharma, let's say the shades its light, the wisdom, the knowledge of the Buddha shades lights to our that confused mind. So that is actually when we really find a refuge, correct, like I said earlier. And that is what's going to help us. So anyway, coming back to what he was saying here, like that samadhi, the antidote. In general, there's just one antidote, and that antidote is none other than the wisdom itself, the wisdom itself. Here we need to think to have a clear understanding of it, we need, if we thought, for example, here the obscuration is the notion of the self, correct? Notion of the self. So now I need to dismantle that. Dismantle the clinging, the grasping, the belief in me, there is that true entity called me. I need to dismantle that thought. So the way to dismantle that thought is very easy. It's called analytical meditation. Like when for example, with the 4 kinds of mindfulness, you can do that very easily. You analyze your mind, you analyze your body. By analyzing that, you will never find that, that self either in your body or in your mind, in any kind of mind. Dismantling that. We do not forcefully destroy that. We do not forcefully dismantle that. But with this wisdom, as soon as I take the benefit of the wisdom, you learn, here it's more about analyze. With that wisdom, when I analyze, notion self cannot withstand the wisdom at all. Simply because it's not true. If it would be true, it can withstand the wisdom, correct? It should be there to the minds of the bodhisattvas. Then why there is no self to the wisdoms of the bodhisattvas? Why there is no self to the minds of the Buddhas? Why there is this, to us? So, answer is right there. To us is there because of ignorance. So anyhow, it's dismantling. We are actually really dismantling all of our notions, not just the notion of self, notion of phenomena in general. We have this notion of phenomena existing truly, correct? The dualistic clinging. We need to dismantle that. So the wisdom helps it. And so now here, then the wisdom, the very direct wisdom, that which cuts through, this notion of the self is selflessness, right? Selflessness, wisdom. So as soon as the instant when I experience that wisdom of the selflessness, the notion of the self in me is instantaneously from the root fundamentally for good removed. Then I will never, ever, ever again have that notion at all. This is what it meant actually in terms of that. And then so along with that was the notion of the self. Then whatever is, let's see, whatever is linked to it also is dismantled. In this case, it was the mental, faculty. I taught a lot, so I'm not going to see too much on that. The mental faculty, one that is responsible for the continuation of the mind, like I said earlier on, right? It's called immediate mental consciousness. Actually, now when you think of that, the first thing that was dismantled was the immediate mental faculty. When that was disrupted, when that immediate mental faculty was interrupted, or when that was stopped, what do you think stopped? Then the notion of the self is also stopped. The notion of the self would still continue if there still would be a continuation of that, like I said yesterday, So therefore, it's very easy to know that. It's not like there are two minds, but it's actually very fine and very profound way of understanding how it happened. I simply cut the continuity of this mind of the self-clinging. I did that by simply cutting or overcoming the mental faculty, let's put it this way. Then the rest of the mind, sense consciousness, all of them, instantaneously, are actually overcome. So this is why we're speaking about that. Like when you talk about the transformation here, it's saying in this regard, now the transformation of, mental affliction, seventh consciousness, along with the mental faculty is happening. And this is, antidote for that is then this wisdom of fearlessness. It says here, I'm just saying for the sake of it, but then I already told you what is the, the true, that antidote. So then it's removed. And this, I said this yesterday, the initial stage of this is on the first bodhisattva bhumi. But then the uprooting of this klesha, the mental obscuration, absolutely for good and permanently, actually happens on the at the end of the seventh bodhisattva bhumi. It's absolutely removed. Again, just to have some clarity here. When the bodhisattvas are in this meditation state, this is when there is no at all klesha experience at all, doesn't exist. But when they come out of that meditation, in the subsequent moment of aftermath, they still see phenomena, they still see self, but in a very illusory way. In a very, very illusory. So therefore, it does not function as a cause for karma, actually. But nonetheless, it's so very subtle, I'm thinking, I don't know if it's a good example, but I'm thinking it is like, when you are high on some kind of drug, and then when it is very, very intense, then you are blacked out. But then when that starts waning away, fading away, then you have different illusions in your hallucination. Different types of hallucination is there. It's very much like that, You are seeing the truth, yet you are not seeing the truth. When that the potential of the substance you took, when that becomes very, 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 very weak, and when it's all set to sort of fade away, disappear, you still see the illusion, correct? But at the same time, you also see, you kind of figure out what's really going on as well. So you're unable to say whether it is really happening or you're just imagining it. But actually it's both, correct? You are imagining, but yet people are trying to help you. So things like this, it's a good example I'm thinking. So here to these bodhisattvas, the layers and layers of this obscuration. Okay, there are two kinds of obscurations. The one obscuration is the obscuration that actually, that prevents me from attaining liberation only. And that is the negative emotions. Because of negative emotions, and because of the ego clinging, I am not able to experience the liberation, cessation of the, let's say, arhats. First one. It's actually responsible for that. And then later on, the one that really stops me from experiencing the omniscient wisdom is, we call the obscuration of the phenomena, sheja dipa. Sheja meaning knowledge, actually. One that obscures your mind from becoming knowledgeable, receiving the absolute knowledge regarding the phenomena. So this is why, you can see that if I don't want any kind of suffering and any samsaric suffering at all, then for that, it is more than enough to just overcome one kind of obscuration. That is obscuration of negative emotion. That simply means you just simply need to take care of your emotions by overcoming its cause, and that is ego clinging. So in short, it means if I realize emptiness of traditional way of saying, emptiness of self, one has really, ended the suffering and the cause of suffering, correct? And then now you have achieved the cessation. So this is why we talk about the Hinayana kind of thing. But then if you are, if you want to really completely and absolutely experience our state of the omniscient wisdom, then that's not enough, because you still have these, very lingering, very secretly hidden mental impressions in the form of obscurations that still prevents you from seeing the reality of the phenomena in a very deep way. So then there are all these different, from the time frame point of view, from the point of view of the characteristics of the phenomena, from the point of view of these actual galaxies of the universe. There are a lot of stories which I think today I can't tell because of the time. So anyway, just sharing something so that maybe, it's interesting. And now here, okay, the other one here is, the oh. Illusion like samadhi, it's very similar. So here, the talk, Kamapa just mentions two different types of samadhi, fearless samadhi, illusion like samadhi. Illusion like samadhi, actually I'm thinking it's more from the, from the Jetop point of view. Jetop meaning from the post-meditation point of view, illusion like samadhi. During the post-meditation state, this wisdom, we always talk about two types of wisdom. Generally, all these five comes under the category of two. Is the wisdom that actually, is induced by the meditation wisdom, correct? The meditation wisdom. The stronger, the deeper, the more profound your meditation is, the deeper, the more profound your post-meditation is. So your post-meditation, your meditation state influences your post-meditation, and your post-meditation actually again influences your meditation phase. Like for example, the bodhicitta part is influenced by that. So they go hand in hand. Actually, they very much go. They're not exactly separate. It's not like when you come out, you have a different mind. When you go in, you kind of go into a different state. It's not like this. You are in the same state of the wisdom. Just what is lacking is the strength is lacking, because the condition is not same. Wisdom is same, but the condition is not same. That's it. Otherwise, there are no two wisdoms at all. It's just the same wisdom. The wisdom that experiences the meditation experiences the post-meditation, okay? It's not like they switch. It would be then there has to be one person will become two Buddha, actually, not like this. So I brought it up because I'm thinking that we do meditation, any kind of practice that we do, all this meditation that we do, is to help us, to keep up our mind, to keep up our realization, to keep up our understanding, also when you're not meditating. Okay? In our everyday life, people ask, oh, I work and do this and that, so what can I do? So I'm giving you the answer. You don't do something different. There is no office practice and then jogging practice, and then swimming practice, and then you're practicing when you're alone. It doesn't exist at all. That actually will be very fun, to have those kind of things. Am I clear what I'm trying to say? Really, if you truly and truly are practicing, and when your mind is really matured, that your matured mind with this wisdom and all that other qualities of the Dharma is what is going to help you to work with your mind all the time. During the day, during the evening, during the sleep, doesn't matter. It's there. But from time to time, we really, really need to, reflect on that. It's so very important. So very important, okay? Because it's weak. So that's why it's so important that the consistency of our practice is very important. It doesn't have to be a very long and tiring practice. It can be short, but it needs to be. We need to be consistent. When there is consistency, then the strength of them will grow. Day by day by day, it eats up, correct? So we really need to do that. So therefore, like I was saying many times, every day you need to meditate like 10, 15, at least actually half an hour, if not 20 minutes. Just sit there. I'm saying this not because you will have some, realization in that point of view. But in my thinking, when we do that, all of our Dharma knowledge, whatever knowledge we have received and gained, in that calmness state of the mind, when you're sitting there, they tend to come back. Like our emotions, they also come back, right? When do you remember the most? You remember it when you're meditating, actually. You're like, oh, I have to do my laundry, for example. You forgot that before. And then, oh no, I have to call somebody. Or I need to write a note. All you're doing is think all these things are coming up. It's very similar to this too, also. Now here, you want to stop that. Laundry and smoking and talking and that, or texting. Nowadays, because of all these things, I need to put this up into the Facebook. Don't do that, actually. Really don't do those things. I'm sorry, but I think it's not a good idea. Why are you revealing yourself to the world? It's very strange. Why you need to do that? It is something you need to keep for yourself, for your own practice. It is not to show off or to brag. It's totally wrong. I'm sorry, but I think it's like this. But anyway, I'm coming back to what I'm saying. So yes, from time to time, more than time to time, it's important to really sit in the meditation and then think about the teachings, what you have learned, all these things. They will come back to us. Just like other things, they also will come back to us. The more and more they come back to us, then they will grow. Like you can see, they will grow and grow. There always is that protection in our mind. I've been saying this throughout, always there. Look into your own mind, okay? Look into your own mind. Don't always have to ask, call Karmapa or Lama or somebody, or somebody. Always don't have to ask them. It's too much, too extreme, actually. Karmapa, should I walk outside or not? That's funny, no? To the extent, Karmapa, should I eat, like salad or pasta? Come on, it's too much. Why can't you take your own responsibility, actually? We say that, you take our responsibility. But then here, no. You want somebody else for that. Don't do that, those things. I must go through this because I think we only have, this moment. So you guys will say, oh, this Khenpo, he didn't finish what he has to finish, but he said a lot of silly stuff. I do say a lot of silly stuff, actually. I guess I like that. Anyway, so I'm going to now read forward. When the great patience is attained, due to the transformation of precepts and perceiver, okay, there is a manifestation of pure realms, the wisdom of all times, and a total unpadded activity. The thought involved in these transforms becomes discriminating wisdom. The okay. Okay, these two wisdoms of the quality, equality, and the discrimination are pure meditation through which there are no abiding in samsara and nirvana. The possession of peace, love, compassion, the manifestation in various bodies, and teachings to retinues. The mandala of the melody of great Dharma is manifest, and the treasury of samadhis and Dharanis. This is named as Sambhoga Kaya. Okay. So yes, yesterday we knew that, wisdom of equality, the sameness, and today we are talking about the wisdom of discriminating. The sixth mental consciousness, actually. When the sixth mental conscious, right now, like I said, the one that, labels everything, the one that we can say judge, is the function of the, mental consciousness. In Tibetan, we have this word called, Dushe. Okay, anyway, so it means, the notion of this and notion of that. We have this notion, this is that, and then all this conceptualization, all this, let's say, imposing that we do. We, superimpose these names onto these different things, and then we start believing they exist. Those it's like brands. This brand, when you, for example, the brand here, and then because of the brand, we pay more money, so to speak. So it's just very that actually is quite a good example in this regard too. So then the discriminating wisdom is, again, it's a, one of the many functions of wisdom. It's not a separate wisdom. Like sameness wisdom is not a separate wisdom. It's just one of the many multiple defining characteristics of the omniscient wisdom, okay? I said. So there isn't really 4 or 5 existing separately. It basically means that the wisdom has this, function that which helps us to understand the characteristics. When we talk about the characteristics, according to, in a very traditional manner, we talk about the general characteristics of the phenomena and the very specific characteristics of the phenomena. The one that sees, something in general, when we perceive a table, first thing that comes to my mind is a very generic image of that. And then later on, you see more in detail, in a more detail. When you see the details in a very meticulous manner, like when you look at a tanka, the first glance is general, very general perception. But then when we go through each and every feature in the tanka, then that's called specific characteristics, So there can be so many specific characteristics. Here, like for example, the impermanence characteristics of the phenomena, illusion-like characteristics of the phenomena, emptiness characteristics of the phenomena, pain, joy, confusion. These are all characteristics, correct? So to see them in this manner without hidden, like the discriminating wisdom, meaning the wisdom have the power to see each and every single characteristics without hidden in their absolute nature. There's just one absolute nature. which is actually emptiness. Let's just stick to the emptiness. So the discriminating, like, okay, another way to make it more understandable, it means when Buddha looks at my mind, he is able to read my mind, right? That means he is able to read my thought, every single characteristics of the thought. When I was a young boy, actually when I was more than young boy, I guess, a very little boy, some Lama told me I was going to go to one of the Lama. Then he said, this Lama has clairvoyance. He can read your mind. I got so scared, actually, So, but I had to go to him because my mom asked me to give something to him. So I went. So I was very, very afraid of approaching him. In a way, it was actually true, no? I mean, he didn't read my mind or any, I don't know if he read or not. He didn't even say anything to me. He was very nice. But then this notion, I remember, 16 Karmapa, this story I hear from people, many people tell that. People jokingly say that, oh, he will read your mind. So then many people were afraid to approach him, is what I heard. So we don't know if that is really true or not, of course. You can. So there is that part of reading. Basically, it means nothing can be hidden from this wisdom at all. That's a discriminating. It's not discriminating in terms of judging or anything. It actually means seeing each and every single entity without hidden. So nothing can be hidden. It sees its absolute characteristics. It sees its relative characteristics as it is. So seeing things as it is without hidden, correct, is called discriminative wisdom. It's not like you discriminate 1, 2, 3, no. Just as soon as it appears there, that's discriminating wisdom. So here is saying that from the point of view of, let's say, when we talk about the Buddha forms, then there is something called Sambhogakaya form, no? Okay, so I said yesterday a little bit. In short, to understand it more like in a more, let's say, profound way, then bodhisattvas, on the bodhisattva ground, okay? On the bodhisattva ground, the Buddha that appears to them is actually named as Sambhogakaya because the bodhisattvas, the realm in which they live is pure, correct? Therefore, the Buddha that appears to them also appears in a very pure form. Generally, we say the Buddha they experience is endowed with 32 auspicious signs and 80 remarks. But that's a little bit difficult to understand. What it meant in my understanding is that from the physical aspect point of view, the appearance, point of view, let's say, then they are actually able to experience the most pure, the finest, appearance. That's what that meant. Okay, the finest way of seeing them. One reason is that because they don't have karma, so their mind is not at all deluded. That's why, they see the finest nature of the appearance. So there is no contamination in their vision at all, is what it meant in that regard. And then, of course, then the bodhisattvas, since they are the bodhisattva, the Mahayana, they don't need teaching, any other teaching than the Mahayana teaching, correct? Only the Mahayana teaching. So that's another thing. And also here, what it meant is that I don't think, it's not like, they have this, schedule. Okay, so the Sambhogakaya teaches in the morning or in the evening. And in a group, certain thing doesn't exist, we must know that. Whenever, wherever it's needed, then, an image of particular, Buddha appears to them. Whatever is needed, it's done. And then just disappear. It's not like there is this communication or socializing going on in there, with the bodhisattvas. Like, hey, how are you? What's up? Those things doesn't exist. So it's not like this. I'm thinking more it's like on the meditative state. It's actually very beautiful, Yesterday I was talking about the Tangnang. I like the concept of Tangnang. It's very, very beautiful. Here is same. It is not something that I make it pure. My mind did not make it pure. My mind just simply becomes free from the stains. That's it. When I become free from the stains, what I see, what I hear is pure. Again, it's not pure like pure, impure. We again have this fixation. When we say pure, something very nice, something very attractive, attachment, pleasure, this is wrong. We must go beyond that. Okay, we must go beyond that. So I think it's hard for us to understand when we say pure. It's not pure from the pure, impure point of view at all. Actually, it's from the point of view of non-existence of this fixation of the pure and impure. Completely, absolutely. So we can say it is from the point of view of emptiness. So I don't know how you understand that, but I can say this word actually. It is very true. Emptiness of fixation of pure, emptiness of fixation of impure. So rising above that. Tangnang. This all the caring part, we do in our practice. It's actually very similar to that. In the Kerim, when you do Guru Yoga or Yidams, we do this thing. We imagine things, pure things. The body is pure, everything's pure, all these things, colors and shapes and everything. Here also he says that when these bodhisattvas, when they see a Sambhogakaya form, it's not same actually. I read it that for some, they appear in a very different format, in a very different color and shape. This is why we have these colors, 5 colors, 6 colors, and if you go into Vajrayana, anyways, so this color stuff. Here also, me as a bodhisattva, when a Buddha appears to me, the color, the shape, let's say the height and everything will be according to my own perception. And then to somebody like to Kamapa, then again the Sambhogakaya will have its own those characteristics. The shape, the color, the size, all these features will be different. So it's not like there is one kind of, it's because it's not a physical body like us. It's actually understandable. We have no choice. Just take this, bodies with us all the time. It's kind of tiring, but we have to, no option for that. Actually, it's not very tiring, to take our blood and everything with us. We're running with the bones. It's not actually so very nice in reality. But somehow we cover them up with the clothes and all this, taking shower maybe many, many times a day. But still we go like this. Okay, I'm sorry. So, therefore, they don't need that. They don't need mask or shower or anything. They don't need to brush that. They don't need toilet at all and toilet paper. A world without toilet and toilet paper. That's the pure realm. All right, I need to come back to what I was saying. So the Sambhogakaya, Sambhogakaya form, right? Oh, I'm habit. I don't need my phone actually. I need this. Dharanis, yes, again, treasure of all samadhis and dharanis. And that I want to touch a little bit on that. Zung, in Tibetan, there is a word called Zung, Dharani. It's very beautiful, actually. When we chant mantras, you know what, Yidam and all this, when we accomplish them, what do we achieve is called Dharani, actually. Okay? And then samadhi, as you understand. Okay. I'm doing the Guru Yoga practice, so there is an image, correct? Okay, the form, and the sound, the speech is the Dharani, the mantra, like Om Mani Padme Hum, Karma Bacheno, or Vajrasattva. Basically, it's their name. We're just calling out their name, right? So Dharani. And then, so then the heart one, the heart is actually Ku, Sung, and Tok, is presented by that meditation, the samadhi. Understood? Samadhi. Like in the caring part, you have the form, visual, then you have the speech, the Dharani, and then you go into the meditation. In your meditation absorption, that's the mental part. When the transformation happens, so of course they all have to transform, correct? They all have to transform. So they transform into what we call as the Dharanis, the Samadhis, and this form called pure realm, correct? Pure realm. My own form is pure because that's what I experience. My sound is Dharma. Not mantras become the Dharma teachings. And then my mind naturally is the pure wisdom, the omniscient wisdom. So as a result of that, consequences of that over the time, then we experience these different types of qualities called Dharanis. So the treasure, it's called treasure of the Dharanis, treasure of the Samadhis, is mainly our own state of the Dharmakaya, state of the mind. So Dharmakaya, everything comes from where? Let's say Sambhogakaya, where does it come from? All these qualities. What is the base of that? It's none other than Dharmakaya, correct? It is the Dharmakaya. You can't separate that, okay? It's not like Dharmakaya is somewhere else and there is Sambhogakaya, no. Very much the base, the foundation of all of that is induced by the Dharmakaya itself, the wisdom itself. So therefore, it's inseparable, actually, in this regard. We can't really separate them like physically in reality. So I brought it up because I thought it's good to know that, even before we become Buddha, truly, when we do these kind of practices, like say Guru Yoga or Vajrasattva or anything, at least in that moment, we free ourselves from being mundane. You are not mundane at all. In that moment, you are altogether become or experience, a very, very fresh new existence, don't you? And this view is so very important. Remember, he says that you want to hold that view. You do this, let's say Guru Yoga, but you hold that view throughout the daytime. So this, again, from what I understand is that it truly have this potential to really help us in some ways, to rise a little bit about our mundane attitude. Don't think you cannot, it does. But it doesn't mean, again, in a very magical way that you stop all these mundane things, no. In our mundane activity, you start seeing something that's not so very mundane. Where do you think that came from? It came from that practice of the meditation. I don't mean to say that you see Lama in every face and in every voice. It's not like this. But somehow our attitude, our outlook to this mundane in comparison to other people who are truly in mundane, you see that you are actually not so very mundane. This is to say that you may be in samsara, but you are better than others, at least from the samsaric mundane point of view. Your mundane view is influenced by some wisdom, by some knowledge, by some really, really good stuff. Okay? It is how it works. But when you're doing Guru Yoga, don't think like that, okay? Don't think that, okay, so I'm doing Guru Yoga, and then when you go out, don't think that, that everything will change. Don't think anything, actually. Just do the meditation, then leave it to it. Don't think like, in terms of, don't think too much, don't analyze too much. Just trust that it will work, and it will work. I'm asking you to trust blindly, actually. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's a very good stuff. Don't try to be too smart, okay? We try to be too smart, and we just kind of, ruin everything, everything I've done. Sometimes it's actually better to be stupid and do this practice, in this very stupid, let's say, way, than doing it in this very smart way, Sometimes it ruins a lot. Okay. But I'm talking more from the spiritual point of view, okay? Spiritual. So let's see. Yes. The transformation of the five sensory consciousnesses and the aspect of the mental consciousness directed towards them. The 16 wisdom of the patience of knowledge and the aspect of the four truths that have arisen from correct thought, see and truly realize the meaning. Okay, this is going to be a very big one. The five sensory consciousnesses are transformed when there is an engagement with all the sensory objects, and the power of the possession of the 12 qualities of all the bodhisattvas level 100-fold when it's developed to the fullest extent. It becomes the wisdom of accomplishment. All right? So yes, it's interesting, very interesting actually. So now we are talking about the transformation of the five sense consciousnesses, into the wisdom of activity, I think, basically. As of now, our senses have only one function. For example, my eye consciousness can only see, it cannot hear or taste anything, correct? So they have one single function, every one of them. When when the transformation happens on the first bodhisattva bhumi, like I've been saying yesterday, all of this happens on the first of bodhisattva, all of that, the mental consciousness, the seventh consciousness, and then the sense consciousnesses, they take the transformation of them are simultaneous. Actually, the transformation is simultaneous, all of the consciousness. And the beginning of that is the first bodhisattva bhumi. And this meta consciousness and the sense consciousness, then and there is transformed. But the seventh consciousness, like I said, takes time until the eighth. Okay? And then eighth consciousness all the way to the Buddhahood, just so that. Anyway, now coming back to this. So when, like for example, here and in many other books, it talks about bodhisattvas on the first bodhisattva bhumis, or whenever they, realize emptiness, then the function of the sense consciousnesses will have multiple functions. Simply, this is what it meant. Here he says about 1,200 different types of activities. In one instant, this bodhisattva can perform 1,200 different types of activities. And at the same time, this bodhisattva, only with eye consciousness, it will have multiple functions. It does not only see, it will have the function of all of the rest of the faculties as well. It's actually important because the activity of the Buddha, the body, the speech, and the mind of Buddha, Nirmanakaya especially, correct, is manifested through this wisdom, or the accomplished wisdom. And then this kind of transformation actually multiplies by 1,000 times, 100,000 times, and million times on different bodhisattva level. On the first, 1,200. Then by 1,000 it multiplies, then again 1,200, 1,000, then millions and things like this anyhow. So what it meant is, in reality, when one is not stuck, in the bardo, our mind will have the function of all of this, correct? But in bardo, we don't have all of this, do we? Because in bardo, we don't have physical form. Bardo form is called mental, correct? Mental form. Just like in dream. In dream, you see a form. That form, according to the teaching, is called mental form. It is a mental state. Just like in the bardo, it is a mental state. In the dream, it's a mental state. We talk about 4 bardos. I really love that. The way how we have these 4 states. We go through 4 states, every time. Right now, this is the state of the bardo of living. And then we have the bardo of dreaming. When you dream, it's a different state. And then you have the bardo of the birth. Then you have the bardo of the real bardo that we talk about. During all this time, we are going through these bardos. In Tibetan, bardo meaning in between. It's very, when I think of that, somehow I, can feel that how everything's so very temporary and illusion. Right now, I'm alive, so I go through this phase. Then this phase will stop when I'm dying, correct? Because when I am dying, in the very last moment of my last breath, I altogether will have very, very different experience. Very intense. Really, really intense. Not scaring you guys, but if you're not a good practitioner, it's pretty intense. And then you die. But you end up in the bardo. But if you're fortunate, perhaps you can, be in this state of meditation of the Dharmakaya or whatever you call that. Let's not go there. So now you are in the bardo. Right? 4 months, no. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 days, 7 weeks. Going crazy. Literally you go crazy in the bardo. You read those bardo teachings, So interesting, so fascinating, and yet so very fearful. But so fascinating. Really, really fascinating. How mind works, Like this, color, shape, every sound, everything change. Boom, 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 boom. Like in a disco, I'm guessing. I've never been to a disco, though. Maybe now it's a little too late to go to a disco. But I'm thinking it's like a disco. I have no much idea to say that. So really, like, and then the Yama is like the DJ. It does the dang, dang, dang. Sound that scare you to death. I can be DJ. I like that, I don't want to be down there confused, but I'd like to see how And anyways, silly stuff. Like I said, I say silly stuff. Anyway, really, I went through that, didn't I? I went through this, but it was only a phase. But then I thought I did so many things. It ends up I really didn't do much. I just ended up dying. And then I just ended up where in the bardo. And then you end up in mother's stomach, in a tummy, warm and cold. I don't know if it's warm and cool, but let's just say warm and cold. That's called perception, conception part. Bardo, that actually the shortest one. The conception is very short. Conception is split of a second. So in the bardo, I'm just kind of going crazy, and then I'm conceived. That's actually only a second. Boom, I'm back, here. In this world, again, I'm born, I go to school, I have a father, mother, sister, brother, girlfriend, boyfriend, boom. Oh, what happened? Oh, that's it. You need to go. Really, Yamraj, with a stick, time to go, my friend, time to go. And then again, we start again and again and again. Pretty tiring, actually. I don't want to be in samsara, please. So it's all illusion. This is called the 4 phases of illusion. 4 phases of, Buddha while facing the illusion, right? So, it's beautiful. There's another thing, but we don't have time to go through that. But I could say some silly stuff, but I think today we'll manage this. You come next time, then I'll share that again. Very tricky Khenpo, huh? All right. Right, wisdom of accomplishment. Wisdom of right, okay. This wisdom accomplishes the benefit for all beings through incalculable, inconceivable variety of emanation through all realms. This is great Nirmanakaya, typical. Correct. So, yes. I like the word nirman, actually, nirmana, emanation. Again, it's very fascinating for me. All this really, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, especially the Sambhogakaya Nirma, is very fascinating. And it has to be very fascinating, Like, so emanation, fascinating because, it's not same to everyone. It's so very different. The way how it's experienced, by a human, by a bird, by a fish, and by some other aliens, things like this, in different galaxies. In all these different galaxies, our lifespan, our height, food, our physical is very, very different. Please know that. If you think everyone is like us with all these features, it's not true. It's very, very different features in all these different galaxies. We call trillions and trillions of galaxies of sentient beings. Now imagine when we think Buddha Shakyamuni, came to here as an Indian guy, he taught, he was skinny and all this. But this is spoken from the perception of us or people who were at that point of time. But at the same time, there were trillions and trillions of his emanation, correct? In the trillions and trillions of galaxies of the sentient beings. This is why inconceivable. Okay? So now, this is why it's so fascinating. But again, it's not like, it's not like there is one source somewhere standing. And then again, shining all these lights going through. No. All of these trillions of the emanation are their own emanation. This Buddha, we call Shakyamuni, Gautama, got nothing to do with that other Buddha who was in other realm, and yet is the emanation of the same Dharmakaya, state of the mind. It's very fascinating, really. Trillions, trillions even less. So now you can see how deluded we are. Like when Buddhas and Buddhas talk, we will not get them. Because we are limited, some people are even limited to their village. I was limited to India before I traveled to the West. Trust me, I never knew the existence of the Western world at all. First time when I saw you guys, it was very funny, to be very honest, with this, blonde and blue eye. I'm like this, like fish. No, really. You guys seem like a fish to me. Very, very strange. But then there's a mala in your hand. I'm like, what they doing? First time I saw was in Rumtek. I really never heard of Western world in my life at all. So then I see this person, and then doing Dhamma. Doom. It blew my mind to this time, really. Never understood. Another thing I never understood, I thought there was just one language, that is English. Never knew there are so many languages at all. At all. Even in 90s, I really didn't know. The only thing first time I knew this country was when we watched the World Cup, soccer World Cup, not the American World Cup, the soccer World Cup. Actually, I could not figure what they're saying. I don't remember the names. Anyways, so my example with like that, limited. So it's like this frog in the pond. You think this is the ocean. We're like this. We think this is the universe, It's not at all. There are billions and trillions of universe. In this, there are these trillions of karmapa, we call it, correct? Activities of karma. All the bodhisattvas. In the Karmapa's life story, he says that. So that's why it's so fascinating. Like here it says Nirmanakaya, it's not just Buddhas, also bodhisattvas too. Like Karmapa says, many of the Karmapa said that. In such and such galaxy, and sometimes they smile, that's what I heard, saying such and such thing. It's very fascinating to me. How do they hear them? When you don't need this physical thing, you can hear anything. There is no distance at all. When it becomes physical, everything's limited. Correct? It's very fascinating. This is what it meant in terms of that transformation earlier. So, 1200, it's beyond that. Some Buddhas, like Buddha, emanation of, let's say Karmapa, is passing away somewhere in the galaxy, and then someone is just born, someone is getting old, someone is very young, all that stuff, really. In all the galaxies, likewise Buddha's same. Some are turning wheel of the Dharma, some are just pretending now to become Buddha, like he did here. In many galaxies, they're pretending to become Buddha now. And then everybody's like, oh, now some Buddha appeared in our world. They didn't know that it was just pretending to become a Buddha. Okay. Okay. Thus, mind, mentality, sensory consciousness are transformed into three kayas and their activities. They are completely present within the mandala of the accomplishment, complication-free Dharmakaya, without samsara, nirvana, without being single or multiple. This is called essence kaya, sabhavika kaya. Okay. So, in some other texts, victorious ones. This English word, now I'm saying it, I'm reading it, but first time when I read it, I didn't like it at all. It sounds to me the name of the queen, like victory, and I'm like, this is a very bad word. And I got used to it, Actually, I guess I'm beyond this. Otherwise, it sounds very funny. Who's that? It's like, almost, who's that? It's not a queen here. I'm sorry, but I don't mean to disrespect anybody. It's just, it's funny because I'm Tibetan. So to hear this word in English for the very first time, it's like, what is that, But then now I myself feel very good in saying these things. I have devotion. I guess you adapt, Somehow it's about, eventually you adapt. My name is. The mirror wisdom is then described as the wisdom kaya, and the other wisdoms as the two form kayas. Oops. Okay. Now here is just saying that, so sometimes we talk about, so now let's say mirror-like wisdom, wisdom of sameness, wisdom of discriminating, wisdom of activity. We got 4 of them. Now sometimes we also talk about the wisdom of Dharma Dhatu, correct? Wisdom of Dharma Dhatu. When we talk about the wisdom of Dharma Dhatu, then in my understanding, for example, mirror-like wisdom has these 2 characteristics of the luminous nature and the essence of the emptiness. So here this is split actually into 2, separated I should say. The emptiness quality of the Dharmakaya is named as Sabhavikakaya, the essence kaya. And then the Dharmakaya, of course, is then the luminous nature of the mind, so to speak. So, wisdom-wise, Dharma Dhatu wisdom, Tsering Yeshe we call it. So the Dharma Dhatu wisdom is, the emptiness aspect, actually. And then mirror-like wisdom is the luminous nature of the mind of the Buddha, so that's how it's split it. Kayas, 4 kayas, you call it, right? The Sabhavika kaya, Mohnichku. Sabhavika kaya. It's just saying that sometimes 2 kaya. In short, 3 kaya. 1 kaya is the source of these 2 other Buddhas. These 2 other Buddhas are there to bring the activities of the Buddha to the sentient beings. And as far as his disciples are concerned, there are 2 kinds, let's say, the beings, the noble beings, so to speak, noble beings. To the noble beings are noble appearance, and it's named as Sambhogakaya. And because they are, they are with much, much greater realization, so they need much, much greater teaching. That's why I call it Mahayana. But then there are these other beings who are not as noble in their way of perceiving things, and then they are not at all, have any kind of insight or great realization. So they need to be led to the nirvana according to their own capacity. Then a certain type of Buddha appears to them, to the humans, a human being, to the gods, a god, to the animals, whatever animal they may be, then he appears in that way, like for a parrot, emanation Buddha in the form of the parrot and the monkey. And in the Jatakatas, these things. So this is why Dharmakaya, without the Dharmakaya, then you can see there's no base at all for these 2 kayas to arise. So in my understanding, if we thought that, let's just say Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya are emanation of relative bodhicitta. I'm saying it, okay? Relative bodhicitta. Dharmakaya, of course, is the emanation, the manifestation of our own true nature, the mind, the ultimate bodhicitta. Dharmakaya is the ultimate bodhicitta. So they go hand in hand with this regard. Like we say, tapshe, the wisdom and the method. So the wisdom here is none other than the Buddhahood itself, the Dharmakaya itself. And then the top meaning the method, the skillful means. The skillful means to benefit sentient beings in different forms, in different, teachings. That is the, function and activity of the relative bodhicitta, a relative bodhicitta. The combination of that then brings about the Buddhahood in general. So without the other cannot exist, actually. There are more to this. Like, for example, we call lay melam, my own karma, my own, the wishes that I have made, in my lifetimes before. Like, for example, right now we make this wish to be connected with the Dharma, Buddha Dharma. All the wishes that we make for the sake of sentient beings based on our love, compassion, kindness, and bodhicitta. When they manifest, then they manifest in the form of your activity in the future. And then there are all these other beings also making the wish, So when these wishes and the dedication all comes together, when this whole of the cause and condition, auspicious conditions comes together, there's the manifestation of spontaneous manifestation of the people you're supposed to be benefited, you're supposed to benefit, and then you, who is supposed to benefit them, appears very spontaneously. And then if there's nothing, then nothing will appear. Yeah, so this is how it works, Meaning, it's not one thing or two things. When all these many things comes together, the dedication, the cultivation of the bodhicitta, Buddha's own wishes that they have made, bodhisattvas, the wishes they have made, all of that accomplished. They have accomplished. Then I need that, good fortune, meaning good karma, to meet with the Dharma, correct? If I don't have that, I won't receive it. So it must come together. Only and only then. Then, the activity of the Buddha or the Bodhisattva or a teacher will come about. Teacher may be there may be Buddha, but when there aren't any being who is connected to him from this point of view, then the activity will not appear. Buddha will appear, but the activity will not appear. Not because, they do not want to do anything. Simply because from the side of the sentient being, they are lacking that karma, let's put it this way. They're lacking that merit. There are many merits, please know that. Merit for wealth, merit for look, merit for fame, merit for good life. All of these are because of merit and not merit, correct? And this is different. This merit for the samsara will not bring you the nirvana. To meet with the Dharma, you need this merit, which will bring you Dharma. The merit that which will bring you wealth will not bring you Dharma. You can be as filthy, rich as you can be, but without any Dharma. So, therefore, we need this with particular seed, the Dharmic seed. And then Mahayana Dharma, Vajrayana Dharma, again, really depending on that. So now you can see that how important it is to, take part and be, participate in different types of teachings, because we are planting that seed of the Dharma. Like I said in the beginning, it says that, when the time will come, we are ready. So now supposedly when the fifth Buddha or the fifth Buddha, fourth is already gone, come, we need to be ready. So we are preparing for that. Whoever is ready, and when he appears because there are people who are matured to be matured. This is how the turning of the wheel of the Dharma is happening. So when Maitreya comes as a Buddha, then it is confirmed that there are these people who are matured enough to be matured by the path and bring them to the enlightenment. So we're supposed to be that. So don't rush, take your time. Lots of times is there, but don't do anything stupid in between. So otherwise, then you will just destroy whatever you. Okay, sorry. Okey-doke. Correct. Buddhahood is the manifestation of the nature of 5 wisdoms and 4 kayas. That which possesses stains of mind, that which possesses the stains of the mind, mentality, and consciousness is described as ground consciousness. That which is stainless is Buddha nature. Okay. The Buddha taught that the truth of the path is possession of the power of the noble ones, that which is born from the pure conceptualization that defeats the pure impure thoughts. The ignorant wander into the ocean of samsara because they have not realized this ultimate nature. Other than with the boat of Mahayana, how could the shore ever be reached? Little bit of being a little bit biased, but anyway, it's all good. May this meaningful be realized by everyone. So we have to say thank you to Third Karma Parangju Dorje. He's saying Happy New Year, and may you all realize what I taught you. How this treaty was composed. Okay. The treatise distinguishing consciousness and wisdom was composed in the retreat center Dechenting. It's a very beautiful name. By Rangjung Dorje on the first day of the 10th lunar month of the year of the pig, 1323. Almost 10 years ago. Just if you remove, anyways. So, Dechenting. Dechenting is the name of the retreat. Dechen meaning great joy. Dechenting, Teng meaning like the great joy, the realm of the great joy, I guess, the realm of the great joy. So then in the conclusion, what he was saying was very, very easy actually, because he just summarized what he said that. He was just saying that since everyone possesses Buddha nature mind, within the Buddha nature mind exists the Buddhahood. So we don't need to do anything. And then, the meeting with the Buddha, Dharma, meeting with the teacher, learning, reflecting, meditating, all that is the path, correct path. And this path is what helps us to really remove all these stains, that's there. And then once when that is removed, then you see nature as it is. Nature as it is, you just see simply see the truth as it is with the help of that. And that is actually called path. When you call path, then there is like 10, okay, first there's 5 path. 5 path is common, meaning it's common between the Hinayana and the Mahayana. From what I understand, nowadays, the Theravadan tradition, I don't know if they exactly count 5, but they do talk about path. But I don't know if they really count 5 of them, 5 paths. So this is from the point of view, common point of view, we see path. But from the Mahayana point of view, then 10 bhumis, the 10 grounds. Because the 10 grounds are not accepted, are not present in the Pali canon. In the Theravada tradition, they don't talk about the five paths because they don't talk about the Bodhisattva yana, correct? So it's understandable. Just to give you a clarification here. So from the Four Noble Truths, the truth of the path, Lamchi Dempa. What is that truth of the path? Truth of the path is actually accumulation of wisdom. I said this many times earlier, but I'm just again confirming it. Accumulation of the wisdom. Accumulation of the wisdom that I've accumulated on the path of application, on the path of meditation, on the path of seeing, and on the path of meditation. Right? This is called the path. This wisdom then, leads you to the path of no more learning, which actually is the Buddhahood. So here it means that these were just conditions. It was something that eventually we don't need. It's like a boat. You need the boat to cross the ocean. Or an airplane. We are always giving this, ancient example. Now we have more than that, airplane. You don't take the airplane to your home, do you? No, you land, and you're happy that we landed safely. Everyone claps, and then you're like, okay, we're safe. It's like this. So this path is like, we call vehicle, the tekpa, vehicle. It's a metaphor, you can see that. The vehicle is a transportation, like public transportation, which helps you to get to your destination. It is not your destination. So the path. So Lamchi Dempa, generally speaking, is something that eventually it's merely a condition. This is very good because we somehow think that this path creates the Buddhahood, So this is not true. It is not. It's just a method, top, that's it. But we need that, correct? Without that upaya, without that skillful means, we won't be able to get to our destination. So we do need that, help. So simply in general, we must know that the path is as important as the result. Because without the path, there will be no result. But the result is not the product of the path. Okay? It's just something that he's saying. Everything we are doing first we take refuge. Then we cultivate renunciation. Then we cultivate bodhicitta. Then we engage in as much as possible in all the perfections of the generosity. We try to be as generous as possible. We try to be as disciplined as possible. We try to be as patient as possible. We try to be as hard worker as possible, meaning we try to be as diligent as possible. We try to be as concentrated as possible. We try to really, be as wise as possible, let's put it this way. In a very mundane way, but the mundane thing, like I said before, really, really gradually, first it's mundane. But then gradually those mundane things become more and more, it becomes finer and finer and finer. When renunciation kicks in, this is when they become fine, really, really fine practice. And then on top of that, when bodhicitta here and there kicks in, to this renunciation, then it becomes really, really fine, correct? And then when emptiness kicks in, then it's become the most fine. I'm not just saying it, it is how it's working. Here and there, there's renunciation. Here and there, there's relative bodhicitta. Here and there, there's ultimate bodhicitta. But they're always around, around us. And then here, glimpses here, glimpses there, glimpses here, glimpses there. And then these glimpses become more consistent, and more consistent, and more consistent. With our practice, the more purification is there, the more merit is there. This merit and the purification strengthens that. Then the consistency of the experience of renunciation, bodhicitta, relative bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta, becomes more consistent. More consistent. It's how we establish the path. It is always there. All of these are there. And all of this, without the renunciation, the reason we take refuge actually is renunciation. What it meant is that I find out, or I have this huge suffering, pain, emotion. You want to renounce that, don't you? You want to do away with this. That's called renunciation. Then you look for a way to do that. That's called taking refuge. So you look out for a way or path. You find Dharma. You're not renouncing people. You're renouncing your problem, the cause of your problem. Deep down inside our mind, we have this desire, we have this intention of, getting rid of this pain, this suffering, and whatever is causing that. That state of the mind is called renunciation. People have a very different idea, or the intention in one to be able to let go that, to be able to let go of all these, causes of the pain and the pain. That actually is called Nginjung in Tibetan. Ngeper Njungwa actually means, has the sense of casting away. What do you want to cast away? I want to cast away my pain, my suffering. But to do that, I must figure out the cause for that pain. So therefore, I must cast away that pain. Then you find a wisdom, you find a path to cast away that source of your pain. Now you can see, actually, when there is this very strong renunciation, then one becomes a very good practitioner, actually. Very, very good practitioner. In the sense, really, you can also see that, no? Very, very. Renunciation really, really leads to bodhicitta. I always say that. Without the renunciation, you can never have bodhicitta. Because renunciation helps you to figure out how pain, suffering is existing in the mind of the sentient beings, not only you. You then understand what really pain means, what really suffering means. And you then understand that it's not just you. Every single being who is born is going through the same problem. So of course you don't want them to have pain too, right? So you want to do something about them too. What is that state called? That state that you don't just want to only cast away your pain, your personal pain and suffering that, but you also want to cast away the pain and the cause of pain of other beings as well. It's called relative bodhicitta. Actually born simultaneously. So now you can see that the realization of the truth of suffering And the truth of the cause, origin, or origination is so very important. This is why Buddha started by teaching the truth of suffering first, right? He could have said something very nice, something very beautiful, something that blows the mind of others. He didn't. He just said the truth of suffering very first time. So don't be afraid of that. Anyway, so we need to focus on. I'm just saying that, there are many, many meditations. From time to time, you really want to also, sit down and think the meaning of impermanence, okay? It's very, very important. And then from time to time, we really, really want to also focus on, this truth of origination and suffering of other beings as well. Because I'm hoping that this is what will mature us. We are too wild, we call it, too immature, very naive. Why you think this realized beings are very matured? Because of their realization. They have no time to waste at all, even a second, without benefiting the sentient beings, because they know the reality. So the maturation is born in you when there is this insight, very, very good insight, realization, understanding of the nature of the samsara. It will mature us in a very, very profound way, and this is what we need. Okay, so I think that's pretty much. Oops. So I sort of read through the Namshe, Yeshe, and we, went through that more or less. So now, yes, we came to the end of it. But the end is always the beginning of something again. It will lead to something else. Right, so, yes, so again, I want to thank you all for being here. And also, for giving me this, opportunity to teach, as well as learn and accumulate merit. So it's all really thanks to all of you, because conditions come together. And of course, I will always dedicate and share my merit with each and every one of you, along with all of the sentient beings. That's kind of what we do. So yes, and then, like I said at the beginning of our session, that the course may be stopped now, but that does not mean that, this is end of the teaching, correct? Now then, when you go back to your, to your individual home and countries, wherever you may be in this world, then you can always use whatever you have learned, not only in this course, I'm saying. I know many of you have gone to many, many things. But this is fresh, so therefore, when you go back, to your individual everyday life, then, you don't want to forget, really, these teachings, and try to really sort of keep all these memories, in your heart, in your mind, cherish them, because when we cherish them, and when we admire them, they always grow, and then it creates the seed, in our mind for the more certain kind of activities in the future, actually, as well. So this is something that, also will individually, I guess it's also, very helpful. And in general, then it creates, this another altogether, then we are also, creating seed and conditions for more and more, Dharma activities. We need Dharma, all of us, the whole universe needs the Dharma. uh, and we should sort of try to know that we are contributing for the, for the Dharma activity in general, in the world. As long as there are people who are listening, I'm guessing there will be Dharma, So it's not about the number of the people, but it's about, people, who are interested, who are following the Dharma. And so this is cause and effect. As long as there is, like we say in the, in the book, as long as there is even just one being, Buddha still will appear, like Nirmanakaya. Sometimes they appear for the sake of just one person. So in this regard, we are all contributing to the legacy of the Buddha Dharma. It's not only lamas doing it, not only somebody doing it. We're all doing it. If we didn't exist, that Dharma, how will Dharma exist, correct? We exist. Dharma is still in this world, still being practiced because there are practitioners. Because there are practitioners, then there are also those others, teachers, let's put it this way. So therefore, it's, all of together, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. Let's say we as a Sangha. We are all contributing to the Buddha Dharma, correct, in our own way. Along with that, then personally, individually, of course, we accumulate so much merit. Our own life will be much better, but very, very sure about that. Our life will be better, our mind will be better. There's no question about that. When we are born again and again in samsara, and we will be born again and again. So we're establishing our future, much, much better future, At the same time, we're also establishing Buddha Dharma, because when we come back in this world, we will need it. So I guess I can say I'm doing it for my own sake, for my own future. It's like, inheritance, so to speak. So, yes, so thank you for that, and thank you for being here. And then Tashidile. So we'll now do the dedication. Okay, I'll read it in Tibetan, I'm sure. He's asking me to read it out in Tibetan for you. Sangye ju dang zo ju jo nam la, chang jo bar do ya so che, da ge jin so je be so nam che, do la ben je sangye do ba re sho, sim je dam je de wa dan de vi, ju da de mer je je dong da dong, ku ju da wa ju je dong me be de wa dang ba dang min da wa ju ji nye reng chang dang, yin da dang yo jom ba la ne ba re chu ro ye che. Sangye dang jang je sa wa ta ya la chang ta ya lo te ta sam la rab de ne go mi so no je re che dang nye wen ba de be no su de na wa ju ba cha kam som sem je dang je ne da da chen da nye ka dang ju me le ne chung de je bo cha dang wa ju dang chang da chang jo je ro do pak na mu ye je den ba da da ji de je na tham je chen ba nye je ke kam sen de da tham je ne da le ma ye je le mi ni le ma ye ju me me chon na ten je de jo de ti ni na ge ngo to chik dang ta de na de wa de na de ma na bar bo ju ma chu da la so dang je ne jem je nam la chen ne sim je nam la so de to da ma de wa za wa khang ni chung wa je me lo le ne rong so dang to wa le ne me chen to ten je ne ju chu de to ban de ne za wa e je go nge na bar che ban ne zu da ti ro re cha la lang dur che be nyu mo ke yon de da ne kan yi che shira de be la ta no nam re che pa le chen be du su che ro to ba me kan ju je de da she le shin mi da che me te me to ba me ba ye ri le bo je me che te che tin ju de wa me ten de she le chung nam ne na wa me rin de me che te ju che da na wa de she le she me yul me te tin ju ra ni ni me shi cha me do da cha le wa na wa sem te te yi tun che ro tun de me che sang so che bo me bar do ye dang chue jen de wa yang me nam nyong so nyong wa je ten yi de le ten ye de la me ba la chen bar je je ngue de me te da so ri she ban de ten da zung je na wa da dang jin tang ne nam re dang na me nam 강총원 대제 신제 제면나 다게 제번 좀마 예니제마 예니메메 대체 열외송 받다 그런데 탐제 샘점때 네 유견 된다네 속도 예다야 근제다 송대 전에 대단히 미긴 라트 대다죠 소도 저러 된토보 다정어 버도바데 된소 제동어 니까 샘레 중화이 요당 왕벼 요당 왕보람나와 도메컴 토메아 감라덴바예 된통 넘버 셰인장 제버 심전도제 예 예진남제라 되네 대마다다 뉴예니 도보제 당가바예 진제 대마다바예 소르쟁가 창제야 대단대와 예노제네미 이단아 제가 린데진조 네십 차체 셈녀랑 아르셈가 절zem바다 마라 차지 마리베 직소 탐제 개베지 뉴모jen지 이시차 주보 강마 탁바예 남제 개베네인데 뉴모 예 뉴모네서 조 제당 디페네 버데 티처 예데 나바니 치벌로 데데노라 그게 나버 제송데 데네 텐단네 단네 렘베 나버 제제 소데 치제 레남 그 만데 롱도 마템바 sabbe number miche cha churji cha do je no tamje chambar tamje kebar che bone sabbe kun da kun je ne ju je je jo ba ye so do lo na te do je je na je je jo che da na ge da ni ne ko je na je de ni ne bang ja kun je to ne do je to ding ding je che chombar cha war song ba ye ka de je kun je lo de so me ne je de yi shi kun na ma ye me yo so ma je to de she ja to je de chum Yeshe kunje junzen je chuje kushe joba yin nyumo jenje yindene pawarando ya ramjane tonga nyumo rabane nyumo meji seje me nyamni je chezo je tema tonga yeje ne chubon zimben zimba te nambar tokje namto yin te ne yangdo shera tong yuma to dende de chumbe zoma tunjen zimba ne jobe shingne tabo tenpa tong tu sum kundo yeshe tong lena kundo tong mebe namto ne yon churbani 소소로 너왜 예제대 대들이 뉴보대 공부하고서 예로 미네시는 정보도 도제 된지고 나서고도 송대한데 주지 인제 증거는 좀 띵엔진도 zon나그 띵 띵진 소는 근제대로 롱죠 저고시 수주 공아 예제 자전에 양다 근는 덴저도 전나바제 셰조죠 셰조 셰조라도 저렇게 동동tempo 똑바래 왕봉아 남니 전에 등근주라 동제동 연대자도 중이라 왕조라 된제 터진배 저원도비 이 시대 감성군도 나서배 밤에서 유튜버에 심지군도 두바고 데네토베고 점보 심제는 계는 저배 고전제 버저바나 추잉 뜻을 증거도 조버 konde 토메그 제다 타데타와로 조방고 니그로에제 결외 흉제까지도 데라 추지고시 교대서 이시 대체멜론 이시 고 현내즈 군이시 주 이시마다 고지예 양지양어로 상제대 셈제 넘버 접아예 팀머러 dengang kunje yin time gyalwe nyingbo je mata kundong jongje pa taba kundong leche pe phagwe shera wangpo ne zimba lamje denbare song tundam sonde mato pe mona kora jato cham tekchen tuchen mato pe kange pare chimbra joro kunjen de den togora isho namshe tangi shinje pe tenche Pablo dawa chube tsechula rangchon doje de chen tenge riche to jorwa Senam de damje zikpa enye to na enye be dana pamche chega na je bala ye tuba ye sebe anzole andowa dowa re shoy Gyawan de ye kiwo ke senam ye che sozo Senam Yeshe le chungwa tambai kunye to parai sho. Minjora lombo kuya tashi sho, yanla ya tukcho sungye tashi sho. Tadala ya timya tukche tashi sho, gyave kusuan tukche tashi sho. Changcho semcho ya rinpo ya che, ma che pa na ya che juru Chepaya, Nyambaya, Mebaya, no, Konea, Kondo, Pevare, Thank you. Have a very nice day.